real big family, and every family they got that one person in the family who think they smart, but they really ain't that smart. But they think they smart. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you might be that person in your family who think they smart, but everybody else know that this sweater right here missing a couple of buttons. You know what I'm saying? I got a sister like that. She thinks she's smart, but we all know it's something wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't quite. It's something wrong. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it takes this girl 2 hours to watch 60 Minutes. Something is wrong. Even her own husband knows she's stupid. I'm telling you. And he knows she's stupid too because he asked me to say, Train, ask your sister what type of car she gonna get when she get her income taxes back. So you know me, I go in there, I'm like, Stacy, what type of car you gonna get when you get your income tax back? She's like, oh, I'm gonna give me one of them O's. Exactly, that's how I was looking. That's how I was looking. Oh, what? You know what I'm saying? You know, an them things nice, and I believe the Lord want one of them in my life. So I look at my brother-in-law to see if he can help me out, because I don't know what this stupid girl talking about. But he can't help me out because he rolling on the floor laughing, grabbing his stomach, because he knows she's stupid too. And then it finally hit me. I was like, girl, that's an Audi. That ain't no oh. Well, you know what I meant, didn't you? You know what I meant? And I looked at my mama, was like, are you sure? I don't think she belongs to us. This is true story. She went to see my oldest brother who lives in Tacoma, Washington. They flying into Seattle from Atlanta. This was the other week. I ain't making this up. My brother-in-law called me. He said, Train, I got some more material for you. I was like, what happened, man? He said, your sister. He said your sister wanted me to stop by the store before we go to the airport. Said she needed some Imodium for motion sickness. I was like, Imodium, baby? He said, yeah. I said, she mean Dramamine? He said, no, I'm gonna get her some of this Imodium, baby.
No, you can't make this up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. A Florida-based comedian who is the host of the ultimate night of entertainment, A-Train Live, The Experience. He was approached by the city of Jacksonville as the only comedian to have a comedy series at the historic Ritz Theater and Museum since its inception in 1929. He's been with WJCT Channel 7 for the last 2 years. And he's also traveled and opened for original king of comedy comedian D.L. Hughley, as well as hosting rap, hip-hop, and R&B concerts. Due to COVID-19, A-Train Live is back under reduced capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the very funny and talented A-Train. What's up, A-Train?
What's going on, my brother? What's going on, man?
Man, it's great to have you back on the show, man. I'll tell you, this pandemic has slowed everything down, but you're still doing some things down there in Florida.
Oh man, yeah. So thankfully that I'm in Florida, and Florida doesn't care too much about this pandemic, seemingly. So there's some venues that's available for us to do what we love to do at a conduced capacity. So yeah, man, yeah, I'm still out here trying to hit these stages as much as I can.
What has the return to comedy, though, seriously, A-Train, been like for you under the conditions we're under right now?
Oh man, first, it's like a breath of fresh air for number one, because you miss it so much, So getting back on stage, you had that element of like, man, I missed this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, just my mindset is I'm trying to make sure that I can do what I can do to allow people to be safe, so that we adhere to, these CDC rules, the social distancing, you know what I mean? And then another element, that has been taking precedent, getting back on stage during this time is, you're noticing that the world, like, we have a new norm now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so those are some of the dynamics, that I'm noticing, after being on stage, during the pandemic. Yeah.
So what have your turnouts been like under the new circumstances with the the protocols and so forth? Have a lot of folks been coming out nonetheless?
Yeah, absolutely. Even with like the condensed show that we're doing, because like my normal A Train Live, the experience, our crowds are like, 350 to 400 people a show.
Right.
And then that's just like, that's one portion of the show, and we have another side. So it's a large gathering. But since we entered into this pandemic stage, we have a condensed version, and I call it the A Train Live, the VIP experience. And it's we have a seating capacity that we have to adhere to, and based on that seating capacity that the city allows us to do, those shows have been, maxed out. So the turnout has been great, even in this condensed version, and it's more intimate. You know what I mean? We're socially distanced in the room. And another thing that we did was, we don't sell tables. I'm sorry, we don't sell seats, but we sell tables, and that way it gives people the comfort and the liberty to be seated with people that they know and trust, who are COVID free. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So the turnout has been great, and I attribute it to us adhering to the safety of the people, and not just having another comedy show that's causing people to come out. But it's a great lineup that they see, and then they also see us taking every precaution possible to afford them, to be safe as possible. We're checking temperatures at the door,
Okay.
mask required, no lines, so it's things of that nature. So, and it has caused our shows to be successful as well. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I tell you, the COVID-19 though, man, for real, it bothers black dudes though. We don't like it, man. You know what I'm saying? A Train, because we love the barbershop, A Train.
Hey, man.
We like hanging out at the barbershop all day,
Right.
chilling with the fellas, and can't do that anymore. And there's nothing like a black man walking out of the barbershop with a fresh cut, feeling like Denzel Washington. You know what I'm saying? We feel great, man. Now we may not look like him, but we feel like him.
Hilarious.
And now the bad thing is you always got that dude down at the end that nobody goes to,
Right.
There's a reason he's all down there by himself.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because, and then you try to avoid eye contact with him. You're looking on the ground, and as soon as you look up, he's looking right at you.
Yeah, he's brushing his chair off. Ain't no hair on it, but he's like, got his towel. He's brushing the chair off, trying to make eye contact with you. Like, hey, man, you ready? You next?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then out of guilt, you go to him and you leave the barbershop looking like the bizarro Denzel Washington.
Oh my God. A real
all jacked up. That's the only bad thing about it,
Yeah.
Other than that, man, we missed the barbershop, man. I wish we could get back. Hey, look, dude, let me ask you this. Have you been doing any comedy on Zoom?
Oh man, yes. Zoom is like that new platform, in the midst of this pandemic, for those of us, who, are accustomed to hitting the stage. We're doing shows via Zoom now. And what's so funny is I had a show, I was booked like when things started opening back up in Florida. I was booked at the Orlando Improv with DL that weekend.
Okay.
And we had 7 shows that weekend. And on that Saturday, we had 2 shows. And in between that show, in between those 2 shows on that Saturday, I had a Zoom show that was booked as well. So when I got off stage, I ducked off into the green room. off in the corner, set the camera up, got my ring light, you know what I mean? Got my tripod.
Yeah.
I had to do a Zoom show for this nonprofit organization, and they was having some type of celebratory thing where they wanted to kind of like reach out and get people together, and they used me as their form of entertainment. And I'm telling you, man, so in between that Zoom show, in between 2 live shows, I go do this Zoom show, come off the Zoom show, and it's getting ready for the next show. So it's been interesting, man. Yeah.
Now, have you found it difficult establishing a rhythm on Zoom? I mean, it's because it's a new way. I mean,
oh God, yes, yes. It's like you say, we as comics, we depend on that energy from the audience.
Right, right.
So, but I think the only thing that helped me with Zoom, that helped me to conquer Zoom,
okay,
is I've done radio before.
Okay.
So having a radio background, it gets you to the mindset where you're not feeding off the audience, so to speak, but you know how to get in your little zone in your box and really push it out there.
Yeah. And because the laughs are delayed, like people can, I don't know. I mean, are you looking at a lot of faces on the screen, or are you just like streaming and you don't see anybody?
Right. And then something else too, Maurice, I did when the pandemic hit. I got that call March 13th because I was headlining on cruise ships. So March 13th, I got the call from when we pulled in, we docked in West Palm Beach, and I was supposed to I got off the ship to go to Augusta because I had to work Augusta that weekend. I did 2 shows Friday night, 2 shows Saturday night, and I was supposed to go back to West Palm Beach Sunday to get on the ship to finish my dates, on the cruise line.
Okay.
Well, when I got off the ship Friday, I got a call Saturday morning saying, "Hey, don't come back Sunday because we've been ordered to dock due to this virus."
Yeah.
They said, "But give us about 30 days, we'll be back up and running." So, like the next 2 weeks, I was up and running. I created a platform called Behind the Scenes with comedian A-Train. It was jokes and stories behind the scenes with comedian A-Train and DJ Oxygen. So the format was, I created this online group, and every Monday and every Thursday, I shared behind the scenes stories that I have never told before on any stage or any platform. And I had my DJ to come out like the first 15 minutes of the show, and then I did the next 45 on these stories. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is to let you know, 2 weeks after March 13th, I was online every week up until November doing shows. So when I would get booked for a Zoom show, I was already in the rhythm. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Talking to an online audience. So, and I was doing it every Monday, every Thursday, since March, up until like November. And so you were asking about that Zoom world, and I'm telling you, it's a different platform, and it takes some adjusting. But thankfully, I kind of hit the ground running, and I was kind of equipped with, that awkwardness that most comics run into with that.
So what are the expectations, A-Train, for 2021 in reference to, are we even going to be back out there touring like we used to be? Or is there some type of plan to tour through the virtual avenue of Zooming? And I know down in Florida, they're even doing shows outside still. I mean, people are still kind of performing down there. But for 2021, for A-Train, the experience, A-Train Live, the experience and touring and so forth, what are the expectations for this year, A-Train?
Number one, getting the green light for us to go back into that mode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One of our expectations. And then number two, I have some things in place that we were looking to do last year prior to the pandemic hitting. And there's some live tapings that we're in the process of doing and taking that show to the next level so that I can use it as a platform to give other comics and other comedians the exposure that we can offer, and have it be a actual live taping and a spinoff with some other things that we're desiring to do. So that's the vision, that's the goal for 2021 once things open back up. And matter of fact, my team, we had a meeting a few weeks ago, and we're really waiting for that green light, because as soon as the world said that we can gather again like that, we're going back into full swing of picking up where we left off to go ahead and get this production out there on the platforms that are available to us.
Now, yesterday I had on comedian Fifi. Have you ever met Felicia Frazier?
Oh man, I haven't met her, but
okay.
But her talent precedes her, man. Yeah.
She's awesome, man. She's really good. But we were talking about whenever we get back to normal, we're taking this platform with us, A-Train, I believe.
Yeah.
Because I mean, people hate the term new normal. I hear people say, I don't like that. But I mean, the reality is I think we've discovered something that makes entertainment even better. Yeah, we're going to go back to normal, but I think we're taking this virtual platform with us. What's your opinion of that?
I agree. I think it's going to be a little bit of all of the above, versus one. I don't think it's an either or situation. I think it's a both and. And like you say, we're going to have elements of what we've created during this pandemic and this online presence. We're going to have elements of that, but then the business of stand-up, the nature of it is still going to stand strong independently. And we're just going to have these additional elements to it where our coverage can be a little bit broader. But I do believe that it's going to be a bit of everything that we've experienced, within the last year, in addition to, the organic nature of stand-up, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And I think God has given us an opportunity to collaborate. And particularly when you're talking about the fold of Christ, performers, entertainers, bonding, connecting, working together, hooking up, creating new ideas. As I was saying before, I have friends now in Italy and the UK, around the world in comedy, and you can start to put tours together. I said tour before, leading up to this question. Like, you can do a tour. Right. I mean, you can do a world tour. You don't have hotel responsibilities. You don't have travel responsibilities. You don't have food responsibilities. I can walk from my dining room table after dinner with my family and do a show. I mean, it's so many things you can do now that can create great revenue without you having to put so much of your own cash into putting a tour together.
Yeah, I mean, think about, just the analogy, the category that you introduced about, like a Christian platform, Christian arena. I mean, think about the days of Apostle Paul. And, there was a time where they had to literally travel from city to city in order to do what his mission was. But then they came where they were able to scribe. It's like, so that letter was the most advanced technology of their day.
Yes.
So as opposed to him, traveling from, Corinth to, Philippines, like, he can be in one city and write a letter to the other and get that thing out and message out via technology of his day. So you spin that to where we are today, like you say, comedy, and how we are traditionally do our tours, our shows, this is a new platform, of technology that will allow us to really expand our reach, but not exhaust us in the areas, like you said, the finances, the booking, the travel, you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
God is just amazing, A-Train. When you think about the Great Commission of Jesus Christ, when he commanded us to go out throughout the whole earth
Yeah.
and present the gospel. And you're thinking in your mind, wow, how am I going to do that? Right. Am I literally going to have to, I mean, how? You're just thinking how. And then when you look at where we are in 2020, and the ability to literally connect with just about every inch of the earth,
man,
more or less through a platform like this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful man. It's a beautiful thing.
It's right there. It's right there for us, and we got to like grab a hold of it. And then we don't even know what God has in mind down the road. But the only thing He's commissioning us to do, A-Train, is to be in the mindset of availability to be used by Him however He wants to use us. That's all He's asking us to do.
Yeah.
He'll take care of the rest. As long as you're ready to move with Him, hey, we can get it done.
That's it.
We can get it done. And you have a very interesting beginning into comedy. Tell us a little bit about your start in this world of comedy, A-Train.
Yes, it's very interesting. And before I share how interesting it was, let me preference this, like predate what I'm about to share with you to 3 years ago.
Okay.
When my wife and I was just dating.
Right.
And within the first few months of us, hanging out, I remember her sharing with me saying, "You ever thought about doing stand-up? You need to be doing stand-up.
Right.
You need to be doing stand-up." And she wasn't just saying like a hypothetical thing. She was like, "No, this is something we need to do. And you need to, do XYZ, and we can get you in this direction and try to get on this platform." Like, she was very adamant about it. So of course I wasn't with that. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm not doing no stand-up. Are you crazy? So stick a pin in that, pause it, fast forward to about maybe 10, 11 years later. From that conversation. She got word of a comedy competition that was in town. There's a comedy competition and showcase. And a friend of hers had kind of gave her a tip about it. She began to get, her wheels spinning, and she kind of put me into this competition prior to me even knowing about it. I didn't do it. So my wife, she worked on getting me on that show. And when I entered the comedy competition, it was along with, I think about 7 or 9 other comedians, and they had comedy school and, comedy graduates, which at the time, I didn't even know that was a thing, And so it was a comedy competition and showcase, and the prize for whoever won, they get a chance to open up at this sold out comedy show that was at one of the city's largest theaters downtown. And so long story short, I'm in this competition, Maurice, not wanting to be there, brother. I'm in my head. I'm on stage telling myself, oh my God, this is so stupid. I'll never let her talk me into doing something like this ever again. But the people are laughing. They're laughing at everything I'm saying. And the more they laugh, the more I'm telling myself, that's stupid. What are they laughing at? Like, that's not funny, So I'm in my head. I end up winning the competition, man. Standing ovation. Got an ovation, literally. And it was an audience participation that judged who they want to win. Standing ovation. The crowd is rocking with me. I win. And still, I'm not convinced that this is what I want to do. 2 weeks later, for the prize, 2 weeks later, I'm on stage at this big theater, and I get a standing ovation. And it was at that moment I was like, oh, you know what? I think I like this. I was like, this is what I want to do. So it never stopped from there. So that's how, I stepped into this game of comedy, man. And so the rest is history, man. And then 2 years later after that, I was on the road with DL.
Wow, what an amazing start. Well, your wife, she saw something that you were not seeing about yourself. It's amazing how things like that can get started. Someone else can see what you don't see.
It is. And I'm gonna tell you something too. My brother, who's 8 years older than me, when I was a kid, Maurice, this is the God honest truth.
Okay.
I'm about 7 years old. My brother would go outside. He would gather his friends up. He was like, "Hey, y'all come in the house, man. Watch my little brother. He funny." And my big brother would take me. He would pick me up and stand me on the coffee table in the living room, and he would have the living room was just filled with all of his friends from the neighborhood, you know.
Yeah.
And he told me he'd stand me on the coffee table, and he said, "Go, do it." And I would just start doing these jokes. And I would start, roasting people, in the living room, and just people laugh. And he would give me a quarter. He would give me a quarter, and kind of like ruffle my head, like, "Good job," and he'd give me a quarter. And I would go to the corner store, to get me, some chips or something, or play Miss Pac-Man, But that was at 7 years old, and I didn't know it at the time. But like you say, some people will see things in you that you don't even see in yourself. And my brother saw it, But I was just trying to follow him, every little brother tried to be like his big brother, and I saw how he was a joy to other people. So I wanted to be that same, beacon of light. So at 7 years old, man, my brother was almost every other day. He would stand me up on that table and tell me, "Go, all right, do it, make us laugh." And man, that was as a kid. So when I got older and then running into people like my wife, they're like, "You need to be doing stand-up." So yeah. And the crazy part about it, Maurice, is the people who knew me, started doing comedy. They were like, "Man, what took you so long?" They weren't surprised at all. And I'm like, "Really?" And then people who didn't know me, they're like, "Oh my God, we didn't know." But the folks who knew me, they were like, "Man, you should have been doing this," So.
Well, Kevin Scott Collier says, "We owe your wife a big thank you. Behind every good man is a great woman pushing him." There's no doubt about that.
Man, listen, my wife, I know you may have some other questions, but let me just pause here and tell you guys and tell the world, I would be where I am today if it wasn't for my wife. My wife is more than a support system. I have to tell her sometimes, like, "Hey, you're not the comic." Like, she's so involved. Like, she knows that she supports me so much that you would think she was the comedian. Yeah, I mean, she handles my branding, my contracts. She manages me. She controls the imaging. Like, she is at every show. She helps me with the writing and the structure of my jokes, and like, she's from day one, man. My wife has been the biggest supporter. She loves this thing. At one time, I'm like, you almost love it as much as I do. Like, I think I'm doing it because of you. Like, she believes in me, man, and she believes that I'm where I'm supposed to be. And she's just that she's that woman, man. So shout out to my wife, my biggest supporter on my team, man. It's my wife. So yeah.
Amen. Amen to that, dude. And I tell you right now, she hit it. She nailed it right on the head, dude. I mean, it's amazing how this journey of comedy has gone for you, because a lot of comics have like something to say, like they got to get it off their chest, or they just have because I think in a lot of ways, and this is definitely, I think you're one of those enigmas in whatever the craft it may be, comedy for sure, where it's like you're just like a natural, like you're just a flat out natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of comics, although they have that funny gene, like they have the ability to be funny, it's also therapeutic to get. I gotta get this out. I gotta say this to somebody. You know what I mean? Or you'll bust. You know what I mean? You got to get it out. But I'm
gonna share with you too, Maurice. And first of all, I want to say thank you for that, especially coming from you, because I respect you. In this game, of comedy. So receiving like that is appreciative. But
Amen.
to be honest and to add a balance to what you said for the listening audience, yes, I am a natural, but being a natural comes with this cons. You know, everything has a pro and con to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you one of the elements of I want to say frustration, but one of the things that I had to work through because I was a natural.
Yeah.
I had to do extra work in trying to formulate something that comes to me so naturally, because stand up is a different world. You
It
know,
is.
stand
Yeah.
up, there's a science to it, there's an application to it, there's a strategy to it, and there's a skill set to it.
Yes, sir.
So coming from the world of being a natural, just this is just me.
Yeah.
And then having to script out like, okay, give me the recipe for you being you. You're like, I don't know. It's just funny. Like, I don't just, say, do it. So it took a real muscle of intentionalities, you know what I'm saying? To really formulate. And what I found that I was working against was my own greatness. Like you have what they call a writer comic, meaning a person who is strong on the writing side that will enhance their comedy. And then you have a comedy writer, you know, where a person is naturally funny, but he writes, you know what I'm saying? Like with Richard Pryor, Paul Mooney said when they used to write for him, they used to have to write for him after he performed. Because he was such a natural, and he would just go out there and he just do his thing, and then they would capture it and say, okay, when you said this, when you did that, let's keep that and let's build on that. You know, let's so write for him in reverse, because he was a natural. And I'm saying that not to compare myself with Richard Pryor, but what I'm saying is being a natural, you know, has its downsides if you're not careful, because now you have to really work at this thing and find out the science in you being you. And sometimes it takes an intentional muscle to pull off.
Oh no, I totally agree with you, and I'm glad you said that, because there are a lot of folks out there. For example, I'll give you a good example. A heckler that goes to a show, he actually thinks he's funnier than the guy on stage.
Oh my God!
Right?
Yes,
that's what he thinks.
That's what he thinks.
Because he's good at dinner parties, he's good in his little group or the cookout, wherever. Right. But there's a great gulf between that and the stage.
Right.
Those are two completely different worlds. So you have to so there's a lot of work. Yeah, you can be naturally funny, but there's a lot to this.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of writing and pace and beat and rhythm and all that stuff. It's a scientific thing in being legit at being a comic. So I'm glad you said all of that, because that's true. I mean, there's more to it than just stepping up there and being funny.
Right.
But at the same time, it helps a heck of a lot when you're natural. I mean, it's like if you're a natural at this thing, dude, you've really solved half the battle. You know what I mean? And so
I agree. Yeah.
And so it's a game of suffering is what comedy is. But again, going back to your wife, identifying that, then going back to your brother and putting you up there like that and telling jokes, man, it's amazing how it all worked out for you, man. I want to ask you this, and here's another special thing about you is that you are a clean comic, you're a Christian comedian, and I know you don't necessarily go out promoting yourself as such, and nor do I think that's a necessary thing to do. Although if you do that, but we're comedians,
right?
But you happen to be a clean comic, you know, and you represent Christ in what you do, and you're really, really good at it. How does your faith influence you, A-Train, as a performer?
My mentor, D.L. Hughley, always tells me, he says, in this business, you don't have to necessarily know what you are going to do.
Yeah.
He said, but you definitely have to understand what you won't do. So
Okay.
he's saying you start from there. And coming across that level of wisdom and that nugget, it made me understand that all of my, faith-based activities and conditioning help establish what I won't do in this industry.
Okay.
So that's just pretty much it. It's just an undertone, foundational thing inwardly with me about what I won't do.
So I had, as I mentioned before, I had comedian Felicia Frazier on yesterday, and she was telling me, and I'd love to get your response to this, and we were just talking about comedy and the different forms. You have your church comedy, and then you have your clean comedy, where, you're not talking about the Bible, you're not talking about anything related to the church. You're just talking, and you're just not cussing.
Right.
So do you have and she was also saying she wanted to start doing more open mics just before the pandemic hit. She hadn't really done any open mics or gone out into the city and done any comedy. Do you have a particular mindset of, as a Christian, when you're performing, although you're not preaching or anything like that, you're having a good time and everybody's laughing and so forth. But do you have a mindset from a position of Christ when you're performing?
Yeah. And actually, it was one of the things that freed me up to do comedy.
Okay.
Because prior to me having this understanding that I'm about to share with you guys, I think it was one of the things that hindered me from stepping into comedy.
Okay.
Because I used to be one of those people who had the understanding or mindset that, like you said, a Christian this or a Christian that,
Mm-hmm.
And I came into the understanding one day that was like, hey, have you ever heard of a Christian bus driver or a Christian plumber? Like, what about a Christian electrician? I'm like, nah. And that level of simplicity is what freed me up to do comedy. It's like, no, just do comedy. You're a comedy. Do comedy. You don't have to have a label like, oh, I'm a Christian comedian. And then and this isn't a slight to anybody who carries that title, but I'm just telling you, for me, you know what I'm saying? It was one of them things that I did not move because that never made sense to me. And I was like, I'm not a Christian comedian. It's just you're a comic. You don't walk around on your jobs like, a Christian bus driver is like, oh no, we only pick up Christians, so don't get on this. But like, it runs out of road at some point with that title,
Okay.
So the understanding that I have now also was predicated upon, like, do you not realize that they were looking for Jesus since he was a baby, to the point where they slaughtered male babies just in case they come across him? And for 33 years, they were on a hunt for who in the heck is this Jesus? You know what I mean?
Sir.
And to the point where they had to hire a snitch to find out who he was.
Yes.
They hired a snitch, paid Judas off for Judas to say, that's him right there, dude. You know what I'm saying? In the broad, he's in the opening, still working his works, doing what he do. But I thought it was so ironic that during the days of Jesus, working miracles, living out in the opening, in the open, they had to hire a snitch to even find out who he was.
Yeah.
But in today's time, you can spot a Christian 3 miles down the road because we figure that's how you're supposed to be. They need to be able to identify me. But Jesus was able to do what he needed to do, blend but not mix. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And have all this Christian paraphernalia on. You know what I mean? So I'm sharing with you what led me up to this cold cut decision of what I do today.
Gotcha.
All of these things were a factor in my understanding that allowed me to operate so freely as I do today, because I understood that it's like being in warfare.
Okay.
When you're at the academy and you're back on base, it's all about your pins, your brass, everything's in place, it's shining, your belt buckle's in line with your shirt, and
Yep.
your shoes got to be shining, and you know what I'm saying, that your collar got to be crisp, and you
Yes.
got a hat a certain way. That's when you're on base.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you're on the battlefield, they'll tell you, hey man, dim that, don't come out here with no bright shiny buttons and all, because you're gonna stand out and you can get popped. You know what I'm saying? On the battlefield, because
100%. 100%. Yes, sir.
you have that sniper. It's like there's the biggest threat on the battlefield. Most times it's not the platoon, it's that sniper who's laying at the feet of the enemy that is blending in with the surroundings and the environment, but yet he is who he is. You know what I'm saying? So all of these things added to me having an understanding to where when I step on that stage, whoever I am in my spiritual discipline, that's for me. That's me as an individual. I'm not put that off on any, that's for me and me trying to work out whatever is in me.
Right.
As a comic, that's exactly what I am. I'm a comic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And just like the Bible teaches about grace, how the sun, it shines on the just as well as the unjust. You know what I'm saying? Like my comedy, I'm a comic, and my jokes and the gift that I have to bring laughter is for the just as well as the unjust. You know what I'm saying?
Amen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this has allowed me to be a comedian that is predicated upon who I am at my core. Because comedy, in order for comedy to really work, in order for stand-up to really work, you have to allow that comedy to come from your authentic self.
Amen. Amen.
So if I don't curse, if I don't live a certain lifestyle, and then I get on stage and I'm trying to speak from that element, I don't care how articulate the jokes may be and properly structured the routine may be.
Right.
The fact that I'm not coming from my authentic self and trying to put on, the audience will pick that up and it'll be a disconnect.
Yes, sir. 100%. 100%.
It really won't work according to how I'm looking for it to work, because I'm not being me. So
exactly.
The only reason that I'm a clean comic, I believe if I had a certain other lifestyle, I would be doing that and I probably still would be funny. But the reason I'm a clean comic is not because I'm like, oh, I'm anti-cursing, or I look down on people who do this or that foul language. It has nothing to do with that. And I've shared this with other comedians and with other platforms. I'm a clean comedian because this is who I am and it works for me.
Amen.
Because you may get me on stage and say, no, Train, this is the hood room. You got to come with it. They don't want to hear that. You got to say it like this. Well, when I go to say it like that, and then I mix a word, they be like, hold on, this dude putting on, like,
yeah, that didn't sound right.
Together, like it's like so from there, I've been able to perform on all platforms, from your Christian platforms, hosting Christian concerts. I've hosted shows for Yolanda Adams, Tamla Mann, David Mann, Kirk Franklin, even the newer generation of gospel artists, your Isaac Carees, and you name it, Erica Campbell, hosting their concerts. And so that's in the gospel platform. But then on the secular side, I'm doing major comedy clubs with D.L. Hughley, and some of my personal dates. And then outside of that, I'm doing festivals, like jazz festivals,
Wow, nice.
Awesome. Like the old school, like the Temptations,
yeah,
Betty Wright, Lenny Williams, Anthony.
Wow.
This weekend I just did a 2C tour with Tank, Tank, R&B ladies man, and here I am. I'm the featured comedian, and the name of the tour is called Love and Laughter, and we have some more dates coming up in March. So I'm telling this not to like pump smoke, to like puff myself up, but I'm just sharing with people how even though I have the spiritual base and understand that I'm not walking around with that label, and it's prohibiting me from doing things that I'm doing. Like I toured with the kings and queens of hip hop. with DMX being the headliner. It's DMX,
Wow.
Trina, Trick Daddy, Kaya, Mike Jones, Scarface, Yin Yang Twins, Michelle A, oh my God, and a couple of others. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we're this tour, and I'm the comedian in this arena who don't curse, who don't do any vulgarity, you know. And I'm out here, and the rappers are telling me, man, we come out to watch you do what you do. And they say, brother, we don't think you understand that the hand of God is on you. Now, mind you, these are the same rappers who getting ready to come on stage and talk about everything, you know, from top to bottom and in between. But they're telling me backstage, dude, how can you have an entire arena laughing without cursing? And this is a hip hop crowd. At that point, I'm a no name. I'm not a household name. You know what I'm saying? I'm just this guy. And it's like, how are you able to do what you do? And I'm telling this story so that people can understand, you know, just be you, and you do you, and you don't have to put a title on something, because once you do that, you box yourself in. And this is something else that my mentor DL always tell me. He said, we're a comic. He said, we're comics 24/7.
Yeah.
And the mindset and the beauty behind that statement is to get you to be conditioned to the mindset that you don't wait until you pick up a microphone to be a comedian.
Ah, great point.
It alleviates the stress of, oh my God, well, okay, I got to go up here. I got to perform. Well, when people perform, there's an expiration date on that.
Yeah.
When you understand that this is just who I am, you operate from a different perspective, and you're able to pull from a different depth out of your well as an artist, because you're putting on a show. No, you're a comedian, and I'm a comedian 24/7. And something else he tells me too. I'm sorry, I'm like flowing here, trying not to.
It's all good, eh? It's all good, brother.
One of the things that he also tells me, he say, promise me you won't change. Because people also often tell me, like, man, what's it like working with D and you? Like, you know, because you guys are the total opposite. And he's like, he say, promise me you won't change. He said, because he loves this about me. You know, there were times where I wasn't even booked on the show, but I'm just there to support him and the show. And he says, train, go out there and do some time. It's a sold out venue. They ain't coming, but he loves the fact that I do what I do, and I do it through the channel that I do it through. He loves it, you know.
Yes. Well, and the thing about it is and I've used your story with other shows I've done with other comics, as far as how clean comedy can affect people without you coming out, beating the Bible, and trying to, you know, say, okay, I'm a Christian comic, what have you. When you told me a story once about a rap concert that you had done, you were opening up for a rap concert, and one of the rapper, after you came off stage, one of the rappers looked at you in awe, like, yo, how did you do that? Yo, dude, you didn't cuss one time. How? And so that was a powerful story for me, and I like to share it with other clean comics. I like to share it with any comedian.
Yeah.
Any comedian. I had Jason Earls on the show. Have you ever met Jason Earls?
No.
Jason Earls is the president of the Christian Comedy Association.
Okay.
Jason Earls is an African-American comic who told me that he had a very similar experience to yours, where he was at a venue. He was the only clean comic there, and he didn't come out there with some banner saying, I'm a clean comic. He just did his thing. When he got off stage, one of the comics pulled him to the side and said, yo, man, I really admire you. I've always wanted to be clean, but I didn't think you could do that. Right. And he said, look, man, I tell you what, why don't you come over to my house and you can, have dinner with my family, and we'll all sit down and chit chat. And then afterwards, me and you, let's go sit down and try to write a clean set.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, that's witnessing. Your story is witnessing. You're already a man of God.
Yeah.
You don't have to paint it on your chest. I'm a man. You don't have to do that. Your behavior, your actions, being yourself tells the world who you are.
Yeah.
Now you create opportunities, A-Train. I don't know if this has ever happened to you. I'm pretty sure it probably has. But because of the way you carry yourself, then other people want to know, well, hey, why are you like that? You see what I'm saying? Now you get an opportunity and a platform to kind of maybe, if you want to witness, hey, now you can bring it home.
Yeah. And my wife and I, we've experienced all of those scenarios that you brought up, in those situations where, it just happened organically. And it was just a byproduct of something that we really, went fishing for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people just coming to us, in hindsight, it's like, hey man, I had a comic to call me, from up north, met in passing doing a show, and he reached out to me on social media. It's like, hey man, I don't know if you remember me, but I saw you perform, at this place. He say, I just did a show, and this is the first time I did a clean set, man. And he was so excited,
Yeah, nice.
But I never put this pressure on people, and I guess, like you say, you never know, like, what you would bring out of a person, what you can bring out of a person just by being you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, we've experienced all of those dynamics, man. And also, like, the Christian association that you're talking about, it made me think of like some of the comics that I grew up watching on BET.
Yeah.
That I used to just think was like, man, like these, like, just, oh my God, just extremely funny,
Yeah.
Like Chocolate, Small Fry,
Yeah.
Akatoon Day. Like, I remember them on BET, like on comedy, you know what I'm saying, doing the
absolutely
era.
Yeah.
And they made a transition in their life where they dedicated their craft, to be in harmony with their spiritual beliefs. So seeing that change in, that alternate, seeing that alteration that they experienced or took, it's like, I understand it, you know what I'm saying? So I don't look down on it. I don't shun it. You know what I mean? Because I know my world is, I've been in church like my whole life.
Yeah.
And a certain number of years I even served, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, so when I stepped into comedy, it wasn't me coming out of the world trying to do it. It was just a continuation of who I am, what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this journey, I'm crossing paths with people who are coming from, the secular side, and they're saying they got to show and demonstrate a 180. So we kind of cross paths, and they're going in a direction that I came from. Like, this is, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's no need for me to demonstrate a 180 because this is my life. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense. Right.
The Christian banner and the Christian platforms and the intentionality of doing certain shows and only being seen in certain circles. I understand why some other comics had to do that, because they spent so many years on the dark side, so to speak.
Yes, exactly.
So
exactly.
People that they have changed. And I guess, in their calculation, I assume, that they probably thought it wouldn't have been as feasible or possible to kind of make that change on the same platform that they've, experienced the side that they no longer want to do. You know what I mean? So
100%. 100%.
So I just want to put that out there too for the listeners, so that they understand who I am and where I come from and all of the dynamics that make up what I do the way that I do it. It was a simple thing of, like, when I stepped into comedy, I sat down with my pastor, say, hey, I'm gonna get this comedy thing a try, man. And he's like, we at lunch. He's like, hey, he's like, well, Train, listen, man. He's like, do it, bro. He's like, and if it don't work, you know how to come back home. It's like, yeah, it's like, so I didn't come from, the dark side of the comedy streets and the gutter of the comedy streets.
Right.
I come from the church side, and it's like, yeah, Train is just being trained. And my conversations have been more toward the church community, because I'm trying to, I had a season where I was trying to get them to understand what's going on and how to do it, because a lot of times the Christian vernacular that works in the four walls of the church, I found out once I got out here in these real comedy streets that, hey, that's not applicable or nice for, for the, the comedy streets to be made aware of. And if I can't say it in the midst of my comedy brothers out here in the comedy streets, then I'm not finna be snug with the Christian side on them trying to tell me certain things, such things like this. They'll tell you, hey man, God got you out here. You a light, brother. You a light to darkness, man. What you do is, and the way you do this comedy, God using you to be light, bro. Well, that sounds good in the four walls of the church circle. But can you imagine being in the green room in a comedy club? And it's like, yeah, who are you? I'm Train, man. I'm the light. I'm God.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
That don't work, right?
No, that doesn't work.
So I ran into these realizations, like years ago, and I was like, oh my God, like I see where my world on the church environment almost kind of set me up to fail, because it really didn't display the totality of the Christ that they say they're committed to. Because Jesus sat down with the sinners, the drunkards and the prostitutes, and he didn't go in there like, yeah, I'm light, you know what I'm saying? But no, he sat among them. He didn't walk by. He spent time with them. And you have to think about that. So I apply all of that stuff to my world of comedy today, just so that, those who are listening, those who are watching, I really want them to have that, because half information can kind of create a total disaster, with some people. So I'm trying to give as much clarity as I possibly can, so that I don't empower somebody to go out half cocked, you know what I'm saying, with some, limited information, or insight.
No, I totally agree with you, and I've done that for years myself. I'm usually the only clean comic in a lot of spots I go to in DC, and I mean, I'm just there. So I allow them to label me rather than labeling myself. I mean, I'm certainly not nearly as good as you, but I've been able to forge some pretty decent relationships in just being myself.
Yeah.
And
me, they approach me. The ones who don't go to church, they'll come to me and say, hey, Train, let me ask you about this, man. Because I know I've watched you and your wife, and I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? So yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize, but yeah.
Oh, no. I totally know what you're saying. You can't come in there with the banner. When you're out there in those comedy streets, dude, you just got to go out there and be yourself. Nobody wants to hear all of that. Plus, you're making yourself look as if you're better than them. Nobody wants that.
Exactly.
Nobody wants that. Let me ask you this: what is the biggest thing? This has been a great hour of conversation, by the way, dude. I'm loving this convo, and I hate the fact that we're coming down the home stretch of it. But I got to ask you this: what is the biggest thing about comedy since you've been doing it that has actually made you a better comedian?
Oh man, the fact that I realized that it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not an act. So that in itself has made me a better comedian. And I have learned that from the moment of stepping into the game. Like I said, my mentor tells me, it's like, we're a comic 24/7. This is a lifestyle, and because it's a lifestyle, it helps you navigate through the rough periods. Because if you don't view it and understand that it's who you are, when you come into a crossroads, so to speak, you'll bail out. But when you understand this is who you are, this is your life, there's no pull to eject button.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I got to ask it. I know well, listen, dude, I'll say this. When you've been doing comedy for a while, and you kind of alluded this to this earlier, as far as, okay, it's one thing to be funny, and then it's another thing to get up there and be about the craft.
Right.
Like this, there's a method to this thing, right? So so in learning the method, there are ups and downs and so forth. I think every comic has experienced bombing,
right,
on some level or another, excessively or minimally. It's happened. I would think you're a good comic, you're a great comic, but I'm sure that you've had a bad day at the office.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What is it like for you, when that happens? Are you the type of person that can kind of go, okay, well, that didn't go well, you know, I'll get them next time? Or does it take you a while to get over that?
Thankfully, the awkward way that I'm wired, you know, things roll off my back, you know, real quick.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Like, I move on. Like I'm so, if I have a show where, like you say, it's not a good show, it's bombing, or worse than bombing, that's silence, and people
oh yeah,
then I ain't looking at you, listening to you, then I responded, like, you know, that's worse than bombing. But
yeah, it is.
My personality is so weird that I'm over that show by the time before I even get to my seat.
That's good. That's really good.
And
That's really good.
Tell you, I'm done. I'm on to the next one, and it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. Most comedians that I talk to on that subject, it's a process of getting over. I know for me, it's like, if I do something that causes myself to bomb, like I go, yo, I shouldn't have said that. Oh man, you shouldn't have done that. Why'd I say that? I knew I was wrong. You know, if I bomb because of those things, I'm over it, because it was my fault. I did it. I know I did it. You know what I mean?
What needs to be done? Yeah.
You know, I can live with that. But when you go out, you put the time in, you believe you executed the way you needed to, and dude, you just whiffed. And could have been the demographic. So, oh man, they don't like these particular line of jokes. You try to change it, whatever, because it's always a learning experience when things don't go well. You could take something from it and go, okay, don't do that the next time, or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, when you do something, when you make a crowd mad, because see, the way we're wired as comedians, we like to push boundaries.
Yeah.
Like I'm like the type of person, like, if I think I can like hit a Hank Aaron shot out of the park, I'm already doing well, right? I'm already doing well. But man, I want that Hank Aaron shot now. So then I serve up one that
I don't know if this is too soon, but to say Hank Aaron and shot in the same sentence, knowing that he took that COVID shot, I don't know. What shot you talking about, Maurice?
Man, I did a show once, dude. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I was killing, man. And I had this one joke that I like to tell in the clubs. It's kind of a risque joke, but it's I always kill with it. But I thought, okay, it's 2019. I mean, we're all adults here. You get, if you really think about it, it's really funny.
Yeah.
But you know, in church, they wear masks. And I was killing, man. I said, if I land this one, I'm Hank Aaron.
Oh my God.
And so I went for it, dude. And I was the bizarro Hank Aaron, dude. I whiffed. So, but no, like I said, those kind of experiences, though, I can live with.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yo, you knew you was tripping, man. You try that.
Yeah.
But when you're up there trying your best, sometimes it's kind of hard to get over. It's like, oh man, I did everything right. But now it's great that you have that mentality, though. I mean, just being the natural that you are, I wouldn't imagine things would sit with you too long.
Yeah, no. And actually, it ain't just toward bombing. You know, I have that mindset because I had great mentors in my ear that always tell me to never park next to a success and never park next to a failure always keep it moving.
Amen. Amen. Great stuff. Hey, we are going to go ahead and skip out. This has been a great show. I have loved every moment of it, and I'm sure our listeners have as well. Now, you've given out so many golden nuggets of advice. I almost think that probably I should. I mean, you've given out some really, really great advice, but I'm just going to ask you anyway. Is there anything you'd like to leave for young comedians, young aspiring comedians, particularly the ones that are coming out of the church or that are trying to be clean? Any advice you would like to leave a young aspiring comedian?
Yeah, I would just like to I always share with comics about embracing the journey.
Yes.
It's never about the destination. It's not about this tour. It's not about this network that you can get on. It's
Thanks,
not
Landy.
a particular platform, because you will get there and you'll find out how empty it really is. Because even after you get there, you got to work. And the beauty about what we do is found in the journey. So embrace your journey, put value on where you are, on whatever level you're on, because at some point in time, the things that you are experiencing, at one point in time, it was just pillow talk. You know what I mean? It was just a figment of your imagination. And to see yourself actually in the midst of something that, truth be told, one day you probably didn't even imagine you would be doing what you're doing and experiencing what you're experiencing. But somehow we tend to get in the midst of those things and not put value on it. And we'll dismiss it because we feel like we're being disciplined and astute, because we got a 5-year goal, we got a 5-year plan, we got an ultimate plan, we got a special we're trying to do. And it's like you're missing out on what is required and needed for you to have longevity in the game. And it's when you embrace your now and you embrace your journey, you embrace where you are, it gives you motivation and strength to go forward. And sometimes people run out of gas, not because what they're doing ain't working or they're not successful. They run out of gas because they didn't encourage themselves along the way by taking in the beauty of their journey.
Beautiful words to live by, and certainly to leave on. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We've been talking with the very funny and talented comedian A-Train out of Florida. He's been on the Maurice Brown Show. He's a friend of the Maurice Brown Show, and I certainly hope this is not his last visit to the Maurice Brown Show. Ladies and gentlemen, the very funny comedian A-Train. A-Train, may the peace of Christ be with you and your family, brother, and thanks for being on the show.
Follow me, man. Have your people follow me on Twitter, A-Train Live. I'm on Twitter. Donald Trump's not, but I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook under comedian A-Train. That's A-Train. And my Instagram is Do It Again and See What Happens.
Amen. Let's do it again. Not you, Donald, but A-Train. All right. Hey, we'll talk to you later, brother. Thanks for being on the show. God bless you.
Thanks for having me, man.
Amen.